Okay, so we are doing exponents and negative bases. What I mean by that is integer bases, not just negative. So it's positive and negative whole numbers. You're going to be able to simplify exponents with integer base. You're going to also be able to create an exponential expression given the expanded form. So powers means repeated multiplication. It's multiplying the big number the power amount of times, okay? So repeated multiplication by the base, it's called the base number. Some kids like to use the friendly term of big, okay, the big number. So you repeatedly multiply that big number. So we have a base is the big number. The exponent is the small number. The whole thing together is called a power. Isn't that kind of random, weird? You think of it as just exponents, the whole thing together. But the whole term is defined as power, okay? Notice that it's not equal to 2 times 6. And that's the biggest mistake students make. They think they multiply the power or the exponent in the base, but you don't do that. You multiply the base by itself the exponent amount of times. Okay, so when you write exponents, that's learning target number 1 here. You're going to identify what the base is and how many times it is repeating. Okay? Here is a doozy right there. That means it's very important. If a negative is repeated, you have to put it in parentheses. Have to. If a negative is repeated, you have to put it in parentheses because it means that it is part of that base. If you don't put it in parentheses, we just think it's like that -1 on the outside. So you have to show that it's a part of the base. And then we always put in alphabetical order. This is more etiquette-wise. It looks nicer. If you have an X and a Y, it's nicer to write XY instead of YX. It truly doesn't matter because multiplication is commutative. However, it looks nicer. So, writing this first one, notice that my negative is traveling along with the 5. So they like live together in the same home. Wherever 1 goes, wherever 5 goes, the negative is with it. So it's -5 times -5 times -5 times -5. So my base is -5 in parentheses, very important, to the 4th power. You have to show that they're together. They are one whole unit. Sydney.
Why wouldn't the 4 be in there with the -5?
Because I'm multiplying 5 by itself 4 times. That 4 tells us how many times you're multiplying the base by itself. Okay? And then why it wouldn't be inside is because the only thing being repeated is the -5. You only want to put what's repeated into the parentheses. Okay? That's all you want to do. So 4yxy. You leave the coefficient, which is that number, 4, put it in alphabetical order. How many x's do I have? How many y's do I have? 4xy squared. No parentheses. Nobody is living together here. They're just next to each other, okay? -2ab, ab, 2b. When you have more than one coefficient, which is just the number, you multiply them. So negative 2 times 2 is what? Negative 4, not in parentheses. The negative is just kind of outside. Do you see how they're not? This is negative 2, this is a positive 2. So this is really how you can think of it, negative 1 times 2. Okay? That's how you can think of it. So really the only thing repeating is the 2. Don't put it in parentheses. They are not together. Okay? A, how many A's do I have? A squared, how many B's?
3.
B cubed. So final answer is negative 4A squared B cubed. Okay? So I have negative 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. Am I going to put the negative inside parentheses? Yes or no? Why? Because it's not traveling together. The negative 6 is like an outsider here, right? So I can separate that as negative 1 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. Okay? So I have 6 to the, what, 4th, and then you just bring the negative down. Remember, if it was this, then it would be in parentheses. Okay? So again, I like to use the term living together, because notice, pretend that the negative 6 is like your family. And wherever if your family's going on a vacation, typically we bring you, not always, but we bring our kids with. Well, notice that wherever it goes, the whole unit is going. This negative on the outside would be like our neighbor, just like hanging out next door. But once I go somewhere, they're not coming with me. They don't live in my same house, okay? It's just a strategy that I kind of like, but everyone has their own style. Okay. Important relationships. You need to be able to identify if something is going to be positive or negative. And these are the rules. You have two situations, it's like a teacher. If the negative is inside parentheses, if you have an even amount, if your exponent is to an even amount, it'll be a positive. Why that works is because two negatives turn to positive. So if it's an even amount, like let's say there were 6, I can evenly pair them up to create a positive number, okay? If it's an odd amount, it will be negative. For instance, if I have an exponent of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to do it like that, I think of pairing because two negatives turn to positive. So this would be positive, these two would be positive, and I got a little negative left out. So then my whole answer would be negative. Very important and hard to remember. If the negative is outside the parentheses, it will be negative, exclamation. Be dramatic, make like 5 exclamation marks. Like make it yell at you, because it's true. If the negative is outside the parentheses, it's going to be a negative answer, because what this means is negative 1 times a to the 4th. They are not a unit together. They are neighbors, okay? Here, they're a unit together. They're in parentheses. Okay. Negative 4 squared. Since it's outside parentheses or no parentheses, the answer is going to be negative. So I do 4 squared is 16, bring down the negative. Okay, negative 2 to the 6. is going to be 2 to the 6, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 2, 4, times 2, and negative 1 times it, because it's not in parentheses. So 2 times 2 is 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, make it negative. Negative 64. Okay, the next one, the negative is part of the base because it's in parentheses. So it means that it travels along with it. Wherever the 3 goes, the negative is coming along with it. So this turns into negative 3 times negative 3. Positive 9. Again, it is following this rule, but when I first started this, I liked to expand it. The next one, this turns into negative. Is the negative coming with it or staying to the outside? Tell me, class. Why? How do you know it's coming with? Parentheses. They like live together in the same house. So it's wherever the 2 goes, the negative is following along with it. So it's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. I need one more, times negative 2. Look how this, I can group if you wanted to group. This turns to 4, this turns to 4, 16. Okay? And that's all I wanted to cover today.